Now, in the Buddhist traditions, depending on which tradition you're looking at, they will often hold that the Sangha is specifically a delineation that is given to monks and nuns who are living in monasteries. That is the sacred Sangha, that you withdraw from the world, and so you are surrounded by a community that is committed to practicing together 24/7. Now, in the West, that term has become more expansive, because that's what we do in the West, right? We take everything and we kind of move it around a little bit, right? We give it a little bit more space. And that's not always good. But in this case, how I'm inviting us to understand Sangha is that it's a spiritual community that actively practices together. That's what we are saying yes to practicing together. And I don't know about you, but during this whole period in COVID, practicing together was much more challenging. It was much easier to just be on my own, to just be in my little bubble, and maybe my wife was in my bubble with me, and sometimes she was and sometimes she wasn't, right? But there was this sense that my world got very, very, very small. And I personally found that to be incredibly challenging. So, as Elaine so bravely shared about her depression, I'm feeling called to share about mine. This has come out of the closet depression time at Unity San Francisco, right? So, December of 2020 through January, February, March, April, May, it's so hard for me. I was feeling so isolated. I was feeling so alone because I really lean into the sacred Sangha. That is something that I know is vital for me. And there was a disruption in my sacred Sangha, right? Because I was moved to part-time, and what am I doing, and where am I, and where is my community? And that, in combination with everything else that was just going on, resulted in my becoming very, very, very depressed, to the point where I was able to function at work, and I look back on it and I think barely. But aside from those hours, I just couldn't really do anything. I just didn't really care. Depression does that to you. It numbs you to the feelings. It was a defense mechanism, I think. My depression was a defense mechanism for navigating the pain and the discomfort. And the thing about depression is that it can spiral, it can escalate. If you're not awake to it, if you're not aware of it, if you're not being conscious of it, it just feeds on itself. Because you start to feel isolated and alone, and then that feeds the idea that you actually are isolated alone, which makes you pull back and withdraw even more, which means that you are feeling even more, right? Can you see the spiral that happens? And there is so much shame in our world around owning up to mental health challenges. So much shame. And I was never ashamed of what I was going through. Let me be very clear about that. I was never ashamed of what I was going through. And I needed to go through it before I could really share it from here, right? I had to get on the other side of it in order to share with you what is what. But that left me feeling even more alone, because you're my community, you're my sacred Sangha. So I am grateful for antidepressants because they are incredibly helpful when you are struggling and you can't quite find your way through. I am very grateful for our teachings because I know that they were the through line, they were the thread that moved me through every day. Where are my peace in the midst folks? The people who join me at noon every single weekday. Whew, you guys are my lifeline, right? Because it's practice, and we were practicing together, and I was seeing faces every day, and we created a mini sacred Sangha in that sacred space, and those were the things that enabled me to keep going. Those were the things that enabled me to even understand that it was time for some medication. Those were the things that helped me to understand that my prayer life and my qigong and my meditation were what I needed to lean into even more, but that it wasn't enough for me to be sitting by myself in my practice.